I've been waiting all offseason to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They really came on late last season and look like a team with a very bright future. They finished the year on a 5-game winning streak, ending with a record of 9-8 and the AFC South crown. Heading into the season, the Jags were seen as a pretty mediocre team with some nice upside down the road, but not a real playoff contender. I personally had them at about 7 wins. And to be fair, through the first 13 weeks of the season, before that season-defining winning streak, the Jaguars were on that trajectory, losing by 26 points on the road in Detroit in their first game in December, falling to 4-8 with only a few games left to play. But after that game, something changed in Jacksonville. Their defense woke up and Trevor Lawrence was ready to emerge. He would come back the next 2 weeks and throw for a combined 686 yards, 7 touchdowns to only 1 interception against the Tennessee Titans and the Dallas Cowboys, and he got the team right back in the thick of things in the AFC South race with 3 games to go. They traveled to New York to face off against the Jets on Thursday Night Football, where we saw one of the worst quarterback performances in NFL history by Zach Wilson. And then after their mini bye, they would travel down to Houston to battle their divisional rival, the Texans. The Jags defense held both of those teams to 3 points, setting up a showdown against the Tennessee Titans on Saturday Night Football for the right to make the playoffs. And with Duval County in full force, the Jags and the Titans were in a dogfight late in the fourth quarter. That would be until pass rusher Josh Allen, the leader of the defense, would scoop and score a 37-yard go-ahead touchdown to send Jacksonville to the playoffs. They had done the unthinkable. Nobody picked them to win the South before the year started. Everyone counted them out halfway through the season, but they still managed to run the table and shock the 2-time AFC South defending champs. But this magical end of the season for the Jaguars would not be over yet. No. There's still a lot more to this story, starting in the wild card round of the playoffs. Kind of like their season in totality, the wild card game against the Chargers was a tale of 2 halves. Los Angeles got off to a 27-0 lead, fueled by 4 first-half interceptions from Trevor Lawrence. The game looked over. It looked like it was heading towards a massive blowout. Right before half, ESPN Analytics gave the Chargers a 98.3% chance to win. I don't know what happened in that locker room, but the Jaguars came out and looked like an entirely different team. Trevor Lawrence would practically have a flawless second half, throwing for 3 touchdowns with 0 turnovers, and the Jags defense held the Chargers to 3 points in the entire half. Riley Patterson, with the game on the line, knocked through a 36-yard field goal and completed the 3rd largest comeback in NFL playoff history. So an unbelievable finish to win their first playoff game since 2017, but they did not have a lot of time to celebrate, as they would have to travel to Arrowhead the following week to face off against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes off of a week of rest. And going into the game, nobody gave the Jags a serious chance to win. I was actually pretty impressed with how well they did compete on that stage as a young team with not a ton of experience against a team in the Chiefs who had been the top team in the league for years now. But Jacksonville cut the lead to 3 points with just under 12 minutes to go, and it was coming down to the wire. If Jamal Agnew didn't fumble at the goal line, who knows how different that game could have gone. Regardless of their 20-27 loss, it was a great season for the Jaguars, but now after you have a year like that, naturally the expectations rise, especially with some of the moves the team made this offseason and the development expected from such a young roster. Now, the Jaguars defense is basically the exact same as it was last year. I went through this year's depth chart and last year's depth chart, and it's identical. All 11 starters are back this year. It's the same play caller in Mike Caldwell, and they really just added some depth pieces here and there, which shows how intrigued the front office was with this unit last year. The Jags were 12th in the league in points allowed with only 20.6 points per game, and the hope is the young talent on this defense makes that number even better in 2023. I'm talking about players like Josh Allen, who had 7 sacks last year, their pair of linebackers who they drafted a season ago in Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma, who showed potential as rookies, Boyesad Aluakan, the league leader in tackles last year, and even their number 1 overall pick, whose best is yet to come, in Trayvon Walker. And those are just some of their young pieces in their front 7. That's without mentioning their secondary with Tyson Campbell and Andre Sisco, who are both very good in year 2, and everybody I mentioned by name is all under the age of 27. So there's a lot of really nice talent, and I think we will continue to see some of these guys improve, and in result, it will improve their entire defense. Where the Jags do have some crucial differences this year is on their offense. They actually spent their first 3 picks in the draft on that side of the ball. They lost their very solid right tackle Jawan Taylor in free agency to the Kansas City Chiefs, but spent a first-round pick to replace him on Antoine Harrison out of Oklahoma. They still have Cam Robinson at left tackle, although he will be suspended to start the season due to PEDs. But when he returns, that's going to be the new tackle duo for the Jags, while the interior is still the same from last season with Ben Barch at left guard, Luke Fortner at center, and Pro Bowl player Brandon Sheriff at right guard. So in week 5, when Robinson returns, the offensive line should be pretty solid. Now, the weaponry for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville offense offense got drastically improved. They spent a second-round pick on Brenton Strange out of Penn State to now pair with Evan Ingram, who they just extended to a long-term deal. They drafted Tank Bigsby out of Auburn to have a two-back system now with Travis Etienne. Etienne will be more of the change of pace and elusive back, while now you add a more powerful runner and someone who can get short yardage in Bigsby. But the biggest move for the Jaguars happened in the middle of the season last year when they traded for star wide receiver Calvin Ridley from the Atlanta Falcons. As we all know, Ridley at the time was suspended for the entire season due to gambling on NFL games, but he got reinstated earlier this year, and the Jaguars honestly got him for pennies on the dollar. They traded a 2023 fifth rounder and a 2024 second round pick for who many viewed as a top 10 wide receiver just 2 years ago. Ridley broke out in 2020 when he had 90 catches for nearly 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns, and he was seen as one of the best route running and electric wide receivers in the NFL. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see him play in really 2 years now due to injuries in 2021 and then his whole off the field incident from a season ago, but he's back, and so far in training camp has been one of the biggest stories of not only Jaguars camp but of the entire league. His route running, which became the staple of his game, has been shown numerous times already in just a week of practice. His ability to stop and start, get out of breaks, and truly make every route look the same is what really makes him such a good player. One of the viral clips I saw on Twitter was when Zay Jones ran a route, and then 3 seconds later, here comes Calvin Ridley running the exact same route, but just 10 times faster and 10 times more smooth. In real time, it really gave everyone a perfect representation on how special Ridley is. But on top of his route running, we've also seen some really impressive catches, one-on-one matchups with the Jags' best corner in Tyson Campbell, and just the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence that he's developed. Lawrence was asked about their chemistry, and he said, in spring we were still kind of working him in, so we didn't get a ton of reps. So now that we're at camp, we're full go. I'm excited just to continue to build on that. He went on to say, just watching him and the way he runs, there are not many guys like that, especially in and out of his breaks. He's just really crafty, has great ball skills, and you haven't even seen it yet because we're not in pads and we're not in full contact. But I think after the catch, he's really good too. Christian Kirk, the Jags' big wide receiver acquisition last year, was also asked about Ridley and the offense as a whole, and he said most definitely when he was asked if the Jags could be the #1 offense in the league. He said, I think that's the goal. We step on this field to be the best offense in the league, and that's our mindset. And Ridley himself was asked about how the transition is coming into a new team and playing football again for the first time in a while, and he simply said, like everyone says, I haven't played football in 2 years, but even when I did play, I know I was a very dominant and very explosive player. Right now, I'm more motivated than ever and ready to get back whatever I lost. I'm around a bunch of great teammates, great coaches, and a great facility. I feel the energy. I just want to continue to build and build and build. I love football, man. I'm not just here for the money and all that. I'm here because I love football. All things you want to hear, and I'm really rooting for Ridley. It's definitely hard going from one of the top wide receivers in the game to not being able to play for 2 years. But so far in training camp, he's looked really, really good, and I think we're going to see 2020 Ridley this season. He now steps into an offense with a really good quarterback in Trevor Lawrence to throw him the ball, a great play caller in Doug Peterson, and numerous other skill position players to help him out. The Jaguars are clearly the favorite for the AFC South in my eyes this season, and honestly, right now, I'd be shocked if they didn't win the division. I really like their young roster, and I think Trevor Lawrence is only going to get better in year 3, especially with a true X wide receiver coming to town in Ridley. But let me know what you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how many games you think they're going to win in 2023. Also, let me know how many yards you think Ridley will have in his first year back. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.